Yes, so my name is Dominic Gay and I'm the producer on Watchdogs.
So what are you showing here at E3?
So today we're showing our brand new IP at E3, so it's super exciting. It's an open world action adventure game set in our times called Watchdogs.
What is Watchdogs?
So Watchdogs is a game where you play a man called Aiden Pierce, who comes from some of the toughest neighborhoods in Chicago, and people close to him have been hurt, and he's going to take justice into his own hands to fight a citywide corrupted system. Now, he's a tough guy, so he can use his fist, he can use his gun, but he's also a very smart guy, so he knows that he needs a better weapon. And for him, that weapon is the city itself. He's going to be able to tap into any of the computers in the city, any of the infrastructure of the city, and take control of it. And he's going to be able also to tap into the darkest secrets of all the people living in Chicago in our game, and use those information to achieve his objectives.
So tell us about the tech that's behind it.
Yes. So basically, anything from computers, cell phones, communication array, a smart grid of electricity in our lives, everything's running on computers. So it's technology we know, it's technology we use every day. And Aiden is able, and the player is able, through the game, to grow his ability to manipulate those things. So you saw in the demo, able to hack into the conversation of people on their phone, able to use the surveillance system of the city to see who's around him and what's in their lives, and how he can use that information. So you saw how he was able to locate the employee of the man he was seeking because of that, but he can also find a lot of different information he can use.
Cool. So tell us about the demo. Can you give us a brief overview of what you showed us?
Yeah, at the conference we showed a demo that was basically around a mission for Aiden. We played it in a specific way, but we're an open world game, so the player could have done it differently. But what we decided to do is we wanted to enter an event that was being sponsored by our target, the man we wanted to take out. And so we hacked into the communication system to distract the security officer. He was looking for signals, so he moved out of the way. Now, this is all just his AI, right? Anyone using a phone in the city, if you hack the communication array, they're going to change their behavior, interrupt their conversation. So basically, Aiden slipped in and met one of his contacts named Jordy, who handed him in a gun, and basically he was using himself as a bait there to attract his target. So he hacked into the conversation of one of the employees of his target, so he knew the target was coming in, carefully slipped out of the place and waited for him patiently. When the target drove by, hacked into the traffic system, turned all the lights to green, created an accident in downtown Chicago, got his gun out, took the bodyguards out, took his target out, and just walked away and drove away. And that's the kind of thing that he's able to do by mixing his ability for violence and his ability for control over the city.
So is Watchdogs all about being a silent killer?
So how silent? Aiden Pierce is a man that is not good or bad. He's in the gray zone. So the player is going to decide how he's going to tackle this objective. The player is going to be the one who decides if, for example, in the demo, he creates mayhem in downtown Chicago, gets his gun out, creates a lot of collateral damages. You saw innocent bystanders getting killed. Well, another way of doing this might have been a lot more subtle. Could have tracked the guy down to his parking lot and just hit him there. So the player is going to have that ability to choose how far he's willing to go with his newfound powers.
So I think the most amazing moment for me was you created that car crash, but no one expects, everyone just thought it was an accident. Like,
yeah.
And that no one points the finger at you,
yeah.
And you don't have the police after you. So who is the public not aware of the tech you have? Does the news that you have this tech ever leak out? That sort of thing?
So in the context of the demo, no one knows you have those kinds of abilities. And we know about those techs, right? We live in that world. In my city, the traffic lights are managed in Montreal by a computer. And on rush hour, they change the cycles. And police officers can tap into the system and turn the lights green when they need to go fast. All of those things that we do in the game, we found references in YouTube, and they're actually happening in the real life. So do the media know it's Aiden Pierce doing it? They might discover that at some point, and maybe the player will get a reflection of how the city perceives his action. That's something that you'll have to wait a little bit to get more info on.
So at the end of the demo on stage, a second guy popped up playing the game for about half a minute, and then you kind of computed, no one kind of knew what that meant. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, so online is in the DNA of Watchdogs. It's super important to us. I mean, our motto is everything is connected and connection is power. So we couldn't announce our game and not at least tease on online. But it was a tease, I'll be honest. So basically, Jonathan, our creative director, was playing Aiden Pierce at the conference, and I was playing another character who hacked into him, who had his own objectives, and we crossed paths. Basically, two players crossing paths with their own objectives. So hopefully that gives you an idea of where we're going with this. We definitely want to blend in multiplayer, online, and single players in ways that haven't been done before.
What inspired you to do that? What games? There are elements of Syndicate in this game, and there are elements of open world and Hitman games, Assassin's Creed. Talk about your inspirations, like why you done it.
So obviously a lot of games inspired us. You could go as far as saying that, you know, all the core team are avid gamers, so we're inspired by all the games we played. We're very inspired by Assassin's Creed. It's been our last big new IP at the studio, and a lot of the people on the team also worked on it. And we see a lot of things that that game did in terms of open world that's just fantastic, and that inspired us for sure. We're also inspired by, like I said before, a lot of the things that we're seeing on the news. Like for example, in Chicago, there's over 10,000 cameras, security cameras, pointed at the population. Some of them can track you from a camera to a camera, and they can read what's written on a piece of paper. No one worries about that. It's fine, right? But those are great inspiration when you have a game like ours with our teams.
So would you say that you're an incredibly cynical group?
No, we're not a cynical group. We don't judge technology, right? And we don't say it's good or it's bad. It's what you make of it, right? And in our game, the player is going to decide how far he's willing to go with his new powers.
So the powers.
Yeah.
Do you give the player all of them to play with?
No, not at the beginning. So the player is going to grow his ability. Basically, Aiden Pierce is obsessed with surveillance, monitoring, and protection because of what happened in his past. And he's going to basically start exploding that obsession, becoming more and more powerful at surveillance and control. And the player is going to be the one building that ability throughout the game, and he's going to choose the way he wants to grow that ability and the types of controls that he needs most over the city.
Is there anyone else with the same powers as our main character?
Sorry?
Is there anyone else who has the same powers?
I mean, it's a good question to ask. Is Aiden Pierce the only man in the world of Watchdogs that can do those things? And that will be answered in the game.
So you brought it out on stage and you announced that you were working on new tech. This is something new. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, we're building a new IP. For us, there's 3 ingredients that are required to achieve that. That's what we did with Splinter Cell Montreal. That's what we did with Assassin's Creed. The first thing is you need a talented team. Good, we got that. Really good team. We need time. We've had that, right? We've been working on this for over 2 years, and we're not shipping this year for sure. So we have a lot of time, and we're able to put a lot of details in the game. The third thing you need is awesome tech, a great engine. Because when you build a new IP, you want to bring a new experience. If you're just making the same thing everybody else is doing, what's the point, right? So to create a new type of experience, your designers need new tools, new engine, and we did just that. We basically have a very strong engineering team, and we built a new engine to give the designers new abilities, new things that they could do. And that's how we can have so much detail and so much density in our Chicago. And definitely, we're going to be supporting multiple platforms when we come out, and that's really exciting.
So tell us about the city. Is it based on Chicago?
Yeah, it's so the city the game is set into is very heavily inspired by Chicago. It is Chicago. Obviously, we're not creating a model of it. We're giving ourselves liberties. But for people who know Chicago, it's very, very similar.
So I visited Chicago. There's nice areas and there's bad areas.
Yeah.
So do you work with that? Like, are there more dangerous places that you find different characters in?
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how in a city like Chicago that has a lot of different districts and a lot of variety in it, how obviously the people are different in each neighborhood, and in our game you get to know a lot about those people. They have lives, right? They're real people, and you also have different ways of controlling the city if you're in a poorer neighborhood or if you're in the middle of the loop like we did at the conference, where there's a lot of things that you can control. So those things will influence the way the player plays. It will also influence the type of people he's meeting and what information he can dig on the people around him.
I thought there was an amazing moment of story narrative when you search through the room and you found the information about. And the one that struck me was that one of the person was HIV positive.
Yeah.
Are you? How does the narrative fit in with immersing the players as well?
So when you use your ability to monitor people and profile them, you know a lot about their lives. And we let the player choose what he wants to do with that information. So not everybody has dark secrets about them, but some have. And some you may decide to act upon, others you might just not care about, and others will give you clear opportunities for, side missions or your personal objective. So we have all of that. We have all of that covered. Some of those information may trigger side missions. You might say, oh, this guy is interesting, and that might open up a different route for you to explore the city. And you might also decide that this guy, because he's been convicted of something specific, you as a player want to do something about it. Well, that's your call. Right? We're not passing judgment, but the city and the media will pass judgment on the types of action that you take.
Cool. Finally then, your expected release date and what platform?
We're definitely not shipping this year, that's for sure. And when we do ship, we'll support multiple platforms.